Texas's homeless horror, where dreams die and chaos reigns. Picture a Texas street, not the one with barbecue joints and cowboy hats, but a grim stage where countless souls shiver, starve, and cling to scraps of hope. Who can fathom the gut-wrenching loneliness of those lost in the Lone Star's shadows? Welcome to Great Travel, the channel that rips the veil off stories too raw for primetime. What if your familiar sidewalks morphed into a wild west of despair, where bodies are bartered under the sun, drugs are the only escape, and chaos is the daily script? This isn't some dystopian flick, it's the brutal truth for thousands scraping by in Texas's urban jungles. In Houston and Austin, pavements double as war zones, tents cradle shattered dreams, and dignity's just a memory as survival turns shameless. It's a living hell out here, a voice mutters from the dark, and trust us, that's putting it mildly. Great Travel is plunging into this mess to serve you the unfiltered, good punch reality of Texas's streets. Got the nerve to face it? Stick with us. This is just the opening act. Let's dive into the raw chaos of homelessness in the heart of Texas. So, what's your take on this Texas-sized tragedy? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button, and subscribe to join our mission to amplify these forgotten voices. Ready for the truth? Let's roll. The Lone Star's Lost Souls, a sidewalk survival saga. Snap a shot of a Texas city street, where the sun fries cracked pavement like it's auditioning for a post-apocalyptic blockbuster. The air hums with desperation, folks huddle in patched-up tents, some swapping intimacy in plain sight, others zoned out in a drug-fueled haze. It's a chaotic scramble to outlast another day, and this is no tall tale. This is the gut-wrenching reality for over 27,000 homeless Texans, a number that's spiked by 12% since 2020, per the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. Welcome to the underbelly of the Lone Star State, where survival's the only script in town. Stories Homeless News is yanking the curtain off this crisis, shining a spotlight on the human heartbreak behind the cold stats. In Houston, Dallas, and Austin, the homeless population's ballooning faster than a bad sequel budget. Austin's seen an 18% jump in 3 years, with over 3,000 souls now drifting through its streets, per HUD's grim tally. Sidewalks, underpasses, and parking lots are choked with tattered tents and plastic tarps, flimsy shields against Texas's brutal sun and storms. It's a soul-crushing scene. People clutching their last scraps of life, some wrestling with addiction, others bartering their bodies just to eat. It's a different world out here, an outreach worker told us, voice heavy with truth. These are folks clinging to dignity like it's the last dollar in their pocket. The emotional toll? It's a punch to the gut. Picture no safe corner to crash, no privacy to call your own, no flicker of hope for a better dawn. Families, veterans, young dreamers, they're all trapped in this grinder, their ambitions buried under the daily fight to stay alive. In Houston, over 4,000 people bed down on concrete each night, a 15% surge since 2022. Stories Homeless News is here to scream their stories from the rooftops, to prove these aren't just numbers but humans with heartbeats, and to demand a reckoning. What's it like to lose it all and still scrape for hope? Texas's tumbled to tent town. Why dreams crash and burn? So, how does someone go from chasing the Texas-sized dream to dodging chaos on the streets? Buckle up, because the homelessness crisis in the Lone Star State is a wild ride fueled by a triple-threat disaster, economic gut punches, social sinkholes, and personal plot twists that'd make a soap opera blush. Economically, Texas is serving up sticker shock hotter than a jalapeno. In Austin, a one-bedroom apartment now demands $1,800 a month, a 30% hike since 2015, per Zillow's grim math. Meanwhile, the minimum wage? Stuck at a laughable $7.25 an hour for over a decade. That's right, slaving away at that rate means coughing up 60% of your paycheck just for rent, leaving you to choose between groceries or, not starving. Socially, Texas is dropping the ball harder than a fumbled football. Mental health care? Good luck. Only 35% of folks who need it can get it, says the Texas Health and Human Services Commission. Add in substance dependency, and recovery programs are scarcer than a cool breeze in July. Then there's the personal stuff. Lose your job, flee a toxic home, and boom, you're one bad day from a tent. Over 40% of Texas's homeless point to unaffordable housing as their ticket to the streets, per a 2024 Texas Homeless Network survey. These aren't just numbers, their lives unraveling faster than a cheap sweater. The emotional toll? It's like carrying a longhorn steer on your back. We met Maria, a 28-year-old in Dallas, eyes brimming as she spilled her story. I was juggling 2 jobs, but it wasn't enough, she said. Missed one rent check, and poof, I'm out here, scraping pennies for a bus ticket to my family. They're my only reason to keep going. Maria's grit is pure Texas stubborn, and Story's Homeless News is proud to amplify her fight for a comeback. This ain't just her story, it's a wake-up call for all of us. What's it take to bounce back from rock bottom? Next, we're diving into the daily grind of surviving Texas's streets. Stick with us. Texas street survival, a daily grind that'd break Goliath. Forget the stats for a sec. This homelessness crisis in Texas isn't just a number. It's a soul-crushing gauntlet that'd test even a superhero's grit. For the folks on the streets, scraping by without food, a shower, or a roof is like playing survival roulette with no jackpot. In Houston, 1 in 5 homeless souls has been battling the elements for over a year, per HUD's grim ledger, baking under the sun or shivering through storms with nowhere safe to crash. It's not just a bad day, it's a bad life, and Texas is serving it up like a bitter barbecue special. The emotional weight? Heavier than a longhorn's horns. Picture the gut twist of not knowing if you'll eat today, or the sting of living like an open book for every passerby to gawk at. Street life's chaos cranks it up to 11. Public hookups and drug haze aren't choices. They're desperate lifelines in a world where hope's rarer than a cheap steak. In Dallas, reports of this raw survival game are up 20% in 2 years, say local outreach crews. No showers, no toilets, folks go weeks smelling like a dumpster dive, their dignity peeled off like a sunburn. It's a nightmare you can't wake from. An Austin man told Story's Homeless News, his voice dragging like he's lugging a lifetime of scars. Those scars cut deep, but some still fight. Meet James, a 45-year-old Houston vet who's been street-bound for 2 years. I served my country, now I'm out here, forgotten, he said, eyes glistening like a rain-soaked sidewalk. I've seen folks lose it all to drugs, to despair, but I'm clawing for a second shot. James just joined a job training program, a tiny spark in his dark world. His stubborn hope is why Story's Homeless News keeps shouting these stories, proving even in this mess, a flicker of fight remains. What's it gonna take to throw James and others a real lifeline? Toss your ideas in the comments. Great travel ain't here for pity. We're here to spark change. Next up, the drug trap swallowing Texas's streets. You ready for the raw truth? Texas's street demons, drugs and deals that break the soul. The homelessness crisis in Texas isn't just tense and tough luck. It's a full-blown soap opera where drugs play the villain. Substance use is the grim guest star, crashing the lives of 38% of Texas's homeless, per a 2024 Texas Department of State Health Services report. Opioids and meth? They're the headliners, turning streets into open-air escape rooms where folks numb the sting of hunger, cold, and despair. Seeing people shoot up or spark pipes in broad daylight isn't just a shock. It's Texas's new normal. A neon sign screaming this crisis is deeper than a fracking well. The heartbreak? It's enough to make a longhorn cry. We met Lisa, a 40-year-old Houstonite, tears carving rivers down her face as she spilled her story. I started using to forget the pain, she whispered, like she was confessing to a priest. Out here, drugs are easier to find than a clean shirt. But here's the kicker. Lisa's been clean for 2 months, thanks to a recovery program that didn't give up on her. I'm fighting for my future, she said, chin up like a true Texan. Her comeback's a middle finger to the odds, and Story's Homeless News is damn proud to shout her story. But let's not kid ourselves, kicking the habit in this mess is like trying to herd cats in a hurricane. Only 1 in 5 homeless folks with addiction can snag treatment, per state data. That's not a system, it's a sick joke, leaving dreams to rot while the street's grim reaper keeps dealing. What's it take to break this drug-fueled despair loop? Now, let's talk about the gut punch no one wants to name. Exploitation and public hookups. On Texas's streets, survival's so brutal that 25% of homeless women, per a 2024 Texas Homeless Network study, have been pushed into trading their bodies for food, a bed, or a hit. That stat's not just a number, it's a heart shredder. Public intimacy's no longer a scandal, it's a grim matinee show, proof that desperation's rewritten the rulebook. Dignity? It's been pawned for a sandwich. We sat with Emily, a 29-year-old in Austin, her voice shaking like a loose fence in a storm. I never thought I'd sink this low, she said, staring at shoes worn thinner than her hope. I've done stuff I hate just to eat, to feel safe for one night. But last week, a shelter threw her a lifeline, and she's starting to believe in a comeback. I want a real life, she said, eyes flickering with fight. Emily's courage is why Story's Homeless News keeps these stories blazing, to show change can spark even in the darkest dives. But let's be real, with safe spaces scarcer than a vegan at a barbecue, this cycle keeps spinning. Dallas saw a 20% spike in public intimacy reports over 2 years per outreach groups, and it's not because folks love an audience. It's because they've got no other stage. How do we stop forcing people into these soul-crushing choices? Texas's tent town tremors, shaking communities to the core. This homelessness crisis in Texas isn't just a street-level slugfest. It's a seismic quake rattling entire communities like a bull in a china shop. For those scraping by on the sidewalks, every day is a health hazard marathon. No showers, no doctors, just a slow grind that chews up their bodies and minds faster than a twister through a trailer park. Fear's their constant sidekick, with theft and exploitation lurking like vultures over a longhorn carcass. No safe corner to call home? That's not living. It's surviving on fumes. But the shockwaves don't stop there. Whole neighborhoods feel the pinch. In Houston, downtown's turning into a ghost town, with businesses crying over a 15% drop in foot traffic the past 3 years, per the Houston Downtown Management District. Why? Because tent cities aren't exactly Yelp's top tourist draw. Visitors, who'd normally flock to Texas for its barbecue and boots, are side-eyeing cities where despair's more visible than a neon sign. And the kicker? Cities are bleeding millions on emergency services and cleanups, cash that could have built homes instead of just sweeping problems under the rug. It's like mopping the floor during a flood. The emotional vibe's heavier than a chicken fried steak. Families strolling through Austin's core play dodge the reality, shielding kids' eyes from sidewalk suffering, fumbling for words to explain why hope's on life support. It's brewing an us versus them divide, turning compassion into a rare commodity. Stories Homeless News is here to smash that wall, spinning tales that spark empathy instead of side glances. Picture every Texan pitching in like it's a barn raising. What could we rebuild? Now, let's talk Texas's housing game, which is about as helpful as a screen door on a submarine. Affordable homes? There's a shortage of over 600,000 low-income units, says the National Low-Income Housing Coalition, leaving folks high and dry like a tumbleweed in July. In Dallas, subsidized housing waitlists stretch 3 years, might as well wait for a new season of Yellowstone. And policies like Austin's old camping ban? They're just kicking folks deeper into the ditch, punishing them for existing without fixing the real problem. No dang roofs. It's enough to make you want to holler louder than a rodeo announcer. The heartbreak's real. Imagine being a parent like Karen, a 35-year-old San Antonio mom, stuck on a housing list for 2 years, her voice cracking like parched earth. "My son deserves better, but the system's got no heart," she said. "I'm still fighting for him, though." Karen's grit is pure Texas, and Stories Homeless News is all in to amplify her battle. These policies favor handcuffs over helping hands, leaving families like hers in purgatory. Houston's got a plan to build 5,000 affordable units by 2027, but that's like bringing a squirt gun to a wildfire. Too slow, too small. Without fast fixes, more dreams slip through the cracks like sand in an hourglass. Stories Homeless News is screaming for more homes, quicker action, and policies that don't treat people like stray cattle. How do we lasso our leaders into making housing a right, not a VIP pass? Texas's turnaround tango, solutions to stop the street spiral. So, how do we yank Texas out of this homeless hellhole? It's time to quit twiddling our thumbs and throw some real lifelines. Quick fixes like temporary shelters, steaming hot meals, and mobile medics can be the difference between despair and a fighting chance. Dallas is already showing off, with outreach programs getting over 1,000 folks into temporary digs in 2024 per local bus. That's the kind of playbook other cities should swipe, small moves that pack a punch, handing out dignity like it's free brisket at a barbecue. These acts aren't just band-aids, they're sparks that keep hope from fizzling out. But let's not kid ourselves, patching holes won't cut it. We need big, bold swings. Affordable housing's gotta be Texas's new obsession, with more low-income units and rent subsidies for families teetering on the edge. Mental health and addiction programs? Non-negotiable. Picture every Texan battling demons getting a shot at recovery. Studies from the National Alliance to End Homelessness say 85% of folks in these programs stay steady after 2 years. Houston's Housing First model is killing it, with 88% of participants still housed after a year. That's not just stats. It's Sarah tucking her daughter into a warm bed, safe at last, or James strutting into a job, his street days fading like a bad country song. Stories Homeless News knows these dreams can be real, but it's gonna take more than wishing on a star. You scrolling this, have a part in this rodeo. Volunteer at a shelter, toss some bucks to a local program, or just start yapping to shut down the stigma. Every step counts in building a Texas where no one's left in the dust. What's your move to make this happen? A glimmer in the gloom, Texas's shot at redemption. Peering into Texas's future, there's a faint glow of hope for its homeless, but it's gonna take a village, or heck, a whole state, to make it real. Groups are stepping up, like Austin's plan to house 3,000 by 2028, and the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness gunning for a 25% drop nationwide by 2030. Texas could ride that wave, but only if we quit dragging our boots. These efforts, plus folks waking up to the crisis, sketch a tomorrow where despair doesn't get the last word. The stakes? Sky high. Think Sarah hugging her kid in their own home, James nailing a job interview, or Maria hopping that bus to her family. These aren't just Hallmark moments. They're within reach if we hustle. Stories Homeless News is all in, holding leaders' feet to the fire and amplifying voices like Maria's. The road's rougher than a backcountry trail, but it's worth the trek. What kind of future do you want for these fighters? Spill it in the comments, share this vid to spread the spark, and subscribe to stay locked in. By pouring cash into housing, support services, and plain OL Texan heart, we can snap this cycle like a brittle twig. Change starts with us. Every chat, every kind nod, every story shared pulls us closer to a Lone Star state where everyone's got a home. Saddle up, y'all. Let's make it happen. Texas's last stand, a call to cowboy up for compassion. Texas's streets have shown us a raw, ugly world where over 27,000 souls dodge public shame, drug traps, and chaos just to see another sunrise. But through Stories Homeless News lens, we've met warriors like Sarah, James, and Maria, whose dreams burn brighter than a prairie fire despite the odds. These aren't stats. They're a mirror, flashing our shared humanity, reminding us every street dweller's someone's kin, deserving dignity, hope, and a shot to rise. This ain't just their fight. It's our moment to cowboy up. You, glued to this screen, hold the reins. Picture a Texas where sidewalks aren't beds, where families sleep safe. Start small, share Sarah's saga with a buddy, sling some hours at a shelter, or toss a kind word to someone down on their luck. Even a pebble makes ripples. Did these stories hit you in the feels? Drop a comment with how we can lift up these heroes, share this vid with someone who gives a damn, and hit subscribe to keep the convo roaring. Let's turn Texas's despair into hope, one story at a time. Thanks for riding with Great Travel. Let's keep shining a light on what matters.